What diet is the best diet? Would it be keto? Would it be carnivore? Or is it just best to go back on to carbs but eat low starch? So we're going to go into it in this video right now. Welcome everyone to my humble channel. Now let's get right on into it. What diet really gives you optimal health? Is it keto, carnivore, or should you go back onto carbs? And this is a question that I'm starting to get, but I believe that the reason why people are not sure is because carnivore is trending so hard. And now people think that they're doing carnivore because they want to lose weight. Now this happened with keto. The exact same, there's no difference. What comes up goes down and it crashes and burns. So I want to go through the 3 diets so people who are finding my channel and trying to figure out what would work best for them, you need to listen up. Let's go over the symptoms and the ailments and which diet and personality traits, which diet would work best. Now, I do a ketogenic diet. That's my lane. I think it's the best lane for me. I've had a lot of success. I started with my mother having a glioblastoma, brain cancer. That was my motivation to learn everything about it as an anti-cancer strategy because I've never truly been overweight. So disease was my focus. This dog is very fidgety right now, let me tell you. Most people, I say, that did keto did it for weight loss. That's typical. That's the typical reason why people start these extreme diets. Now you can lose weight on keto, but people would inbox me and say, well, I'm underweight, so if I'm in ketosis, I'm just gonna turn into a dust ball of air. And I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. And just because you are in ketosis doesn't mean that you just keep disappearing to nothing and just a bag of bones. There is low carb, high fat, and there is carnivore, but keto more in depth. People who are having problems with their autoimmunity, thyroid, adrenal, histamine, low energy chronic fatigue, sleepless nights, reproductive hormonal issues, and performance like exercise performance and muscle gain. I believe that a ketogenic diet is the best diet to be in ketosis. The difference between keto and carnivore, the line is very close. But being in ketosis allows you to have prebiotic fiber. And prebiotic fiber helps stabilizes the gut bacteria, the gut microbiome because of the prebiotic factor. Carnivore does not allow this. People are struggling with this concept that eating a bunch of ribeyes is going to balance their gut microbiome, but you're not going to find a guru or a video where anyone is saying to you that your gut bacteria over time, years of doing meat and some fat, is going to balance that gut for people who have leaky gut. But let's go more into keto. So keto, a ketogenic diet, is omnivorous. That means you can eat plants and animal parts. The most important thing with the ketogenic diet is the fat. But not only do you train lazy fat cells and a broken, metabolically deranged metabolism to work again being in ketosis, but you also have mental clarity the anti-aging benefits on the skin, it's incredible because you're getting fat into the dermis layers. Where on a carb diet, it's the opposite. On a carb diet, you're having problems with elevated levels of glucose that glycate skin cells, which means makes you age faster. A keto diet is great for epilepsy, heart disease, high-fat animal, thyroid, lupus, Lyme's disease, liver disease, kidney disease. People think, well, if I eat fat, isn't that going to ruin my liver? And I'm like, no. You're going to have a harder time making ketones because that's where ketones are made in the liver. But it's not going to damage the liver or the kidneys. People have got kidney issues, have problems with protein, with the urea, the uric acid, and the purines, and the protein waste products. So a ketogenic diet, a well-formulated ketogenic diet, in my opinion, is the best to keep you even, right? Because ketones are like putting big logs onto a fireplace. They don't burn super high, but they burn even for hours. Whereas eating carbs is like eating paper. You throw paper into a fireplace, it's going to burn real fast and it's going to burn out, and you're going to have to keep feeding the fireplace, and that's how you burn out your metabolism. And every time that fire stokes out, your metabolism slows down. When you have hypoglycemia and you crash. Oh, keto is also amazing for sustained energy and hypoglycemia sufferers. But not everyone can do a ketogenic diet. So let's go over the list of people who can't do a ketogenic diet. Not all diet fits all. That's saying all twice. Not any type of diet can fit all people. You have to factor in the gallbladder. So if you have stones up the wazoo, a blocked biliary duct tubing at the top, if it's blocked, you can't do a keto diet and eat high fat. You have to eat high fat, not high protein. High fat. High fat incites ketone production and stabilizes blood sugar. High protein spikes your blood sugar, drops your ketones. Go get a glucometer and test this. The gallbladder must function. If you have a lot of stones, slight infection, not going to work. If you have no infections and a few stones and no blockage, just bile is not being released properly, you can do this diet. But you have to eat your fat with protein. You have to potentially use supplemental measures for the short term, like TUDCA, lipase, taurine, glycine, lemon water, malic acid, bitters. There's so many different things you can try. Ox bile. But massaging the gallbladder, right? Doing cleanses. If you're diligent and you're patient, the gallbladder, and eating fat also. You can't. If you eat zero fat, then the bile gets blocked up even more. Starts thickening into cholesterol molecules in the gallbladder. A lot of people still don't know what the gallbladder does. It breaks down fat. Liver makes it. Gallbladder, it drops into the gallbladder. Right below the liver, it's released through plumbing, meets the fat, breaks it down so you can absorb it and use it and make ketones. Another type of person who would not be so great at doing a ketogenic diet is somebody who cannot control their hypoglycemia doing keto. And people get confused, like, why would I have hypoglycemia doing a ketogenic diet if I take out my carbs? I'm like, because you took out the carbs. And your glucagon isn't working very well. And those two hormones, they work. One drops you down, one brings you up. And if that glucagon's not bringing you up, and the insulin's over secreting, and the glucagon is not bringing up, then you're down. And then when you're down, you spike real high. So this becomes dysglycemic or a blood sugar freak out, really. It's an imbalance. And if you can't get your lifestyle under control and your stress under control, don't even bother. Waste time. Blood sugar is going to be spiking. Blood sugar spikes. Can't use ketones. You can make them, not going to use them. Going to be in the urine in the toilet, and that's why your urine strips turn purple instead of being clear, because you should be using all the ketones. Third shift night workers. Y'all have a different. Now, it is possible to get into ketosis as a second and third shift night worker, but it is hard. And most people just don't have the bullocks and the discipline to go there. So those are the 3 types of people. Yeah. Or if you have a histamine to fat, but if you have a histamine to fat, you have a histamine to plant. So I'm just the 3 types. But that's keto. That's where I fit in. That's the anti-aging, and your cells don't glycate like they do with glucose, high levels of glucose. It's awesome. You have a variety of flavor. But let's get into it. We got some more. Carnivore diets. Carnivore diets, I think, are amazing for about 3 to 6 months. 6 months is even pushing it. And the reason why I think that a carnivore diet is amazing, and it's in the simplistic form, is that today I had a client and she reacted to everything. So a short-term, well-formulated carnivore diet can help bring down the inflammation. But if you do it one day too long, you bring up the inflammation, because your diamine oxidase goes, and that's an antihistamine. And an antihistamine is an inflammatory responder to take down inflammation and allergies. And I hear these damn horses outside. Lord, I can't even get through a video. When they hear me talk, they start making noise because they know I'm going to go outside and give them hay. But let's keep going. If you have severe, like, eczema, or if you have a severe asthma attack, right? If you have food poisoning, IBS, where just diarrhea explosion, severe histamine in terms of mucus, headaches, reactive to anything that's plant-wise, aches, joint pain, any of that, then it's amazing for the short term. Then you work on the gut. You seal up that open intestine, the small intestine, you seal it up. What are these monsters doing? I know you guys can't hear them, but I hear them, and the puppy right below me hears them. Then you seal up the gut wall through, that's a whole video. That's a series of videos. You seal up the gut wall, and then you go off. And then you use these other foods for the prebiotic fiber to stabilize the gut microbiome. You also have potassium and certain other nutrients in some plants, right? You can eat seasonally, or you can eat once a day or every other day. But to go full carnivore, people have this dump of bile. Their poop turns green. They develop diarrhea because they can't handle all the fatty meats. They become constipated because they don't drink enough water. They lose their electrolytes. And people are eating too much protein, which creates problems with the kidneys. And if you don't have problems with your kidneys, you will soon, because a lot of people, if you go check your GFR, which is the rate at which your kidneys filtrate fluid, but then go and check your creatinine and bun ratios, go check your uric acid levels, because they could be high. Go check your liver. A lot of people don't check those things. They just do the damn diet because every guru on this planet is making money off this stuff. And then they just indoctrinate their own mind and believe it, like the fasting thing and the cold water baths and all these extreme things that destroy your adrenals. People don't, but fasting is, cold baths are not good. Not if you got adrenal issues and thyroid issues. Hell to the nut. People can't take a shock and stress to their body because these these cold ice bath people are not considering people with adrenal insufficiencies or just too much cortisol or anxiety, and they're like, and it's just, it makes things worse. And because so many men push this crap, women do it too, and they're like, my husband loses 40 pounds and I just can't lose anything. And I'm like, yeah, think. Carnivore is great for people who have severe inflammatory responses for the short term. And if you do a carnivore diet, it must be ketotic. You have to drive ketosis or you're just going to frack your body up straight up. First, you notice a drop in glucose. You might lose a couple lbs. Sit on that a little bit longer, my people. People are like, I've done this for 6 months and 8 months and I feel amazing. I'm like, I didn't feel any problems for 5 years on keto. 5. Look at my previous videos. 5 years I was sailing, and then one day, kablammy! Just wait. Let's keep going. Low carb, high fat. What is that? That is not a ketogenic diet. Don't even bother testing your ketones. That's a carb diet. That's a carb diet. Just low carb. Most people have 150 to 300 grams of carbs a day. They're eating breads. They're eating fruit. They're eating like ketchup that has sugar in it. All meat, all these bacon and all these aged meats have sugar in them. You go out to a restaurant, all the sauces, they put sugar in them. Potatoes, rice, grains, sugars. Those are carbs and sugars. And in nature, we'd probably get about 5 grams of carbs a day, 1 or 2 grams of sugar, maybe. And insulin can match that perfectly without a problem. But when you take a grain and you pulverize it, you make it a powder and you make bread out of it, now we've got oodles and kabloodles of starch, which is not natural. And then insulin has to go to keep up with all that starch. That wild spinach, which grows wild, or those berries that are really sour, you don't need a lot of insulin for that. And so that is where the line is like, now there's like another group of people who can't, their gallbladder's jacked up and they react to everything. They do terrible on carbs. So I have strategies for those people, and that's a whole nother video. But low carb, high fat involves like the lowest that you can of most of the carbs, not all. So we've got pumpkin, we've got parsnip, we've got sweet potato, red potato, no white potato, super thyroid problem-ish, nightshady, jasmine rice, white rice, and very small amounts with meat and fat can also be your carbohydrate. You can also have some berries, not sweet fruits. If you're going to have you could have a pear, you can have grapefruit, you can have raspberries and blueberries, strawberries that are not super, super sweet, because all of our vegetation has been genetically modified, selectively bred and hybridized to be more sweet, brighter in color, bigger. Frankenstein vegetables, yeah. Not natural in nature, yeah. That whole carnivore with fruit, joke. What a freaking joke. I need to do another updated video on that. Absolute ridiculous, absurd, can't get into ketosis. It's not, and then people are doing tons of meat and then they add fruit because they have no energy, because they're not in ketosis and they don't know how to, and they can't hold on to their minerals because they don't know how to balance their electrolytes. Yeah, that's another reason why people go on to carbs. I forgot to mention is they cannot balance their electrolytes, so they give up and they just start eating carbs again, and then they feel better, but then they can't manage their hormones. It's like literally being the mad scientist and messing around and experimenting, and you always have to do the N=1 experimentation to really know what you should do. But people who severely have problems with the gallbladder, low carb, high fat, then fix the gallbladder, then go back to ketosis land. People who have hypoglycemia and they do better on carbs. Now, some people who have hypoglycemia, in fact, most, do terrible going back onto carbs. But the dehydration is really the second chunk that people cannot balance their electrolytes. And so carbs, just because you're all filled with water, because you get bloated on carbs, right? Cellular water. You just do. Just do. Carbohydrate, hydrate the cell. Then the minerals stay in the cell a lot easier. That's not necessarily a good thing. If our vegetables had more minerals in them, if we didn't destroy our planet, we wouldn't have to eat a bunch of fruit and carbs to get our minerals to stay within the cell. But instead we have to do supplementation. And if you balance your supplements, I hate to say it, like potassium, well, no, rather magnesium, because you can actually get potassium from food, from plants. That's why carnivore is not good for the long term. You can get it from sea moss and seaweed, kelp, seaweed, high amounts of potassium. You can get it from avocado and some other plants. There's ample amount of potassium. But in meat there just isn't enough. I'm sorry. And even the animals that eat the plants that are having the low levels of potassium, they don't have enough potassium, magnesium. I know that because I have horses who have problems with their electrolytes, who sometimes need supplemental minerals. Sad, but true. Yeah. I hope this helps, guys, for the individual to decide which diet may work best for them. Can you lose weight on low carb, high fat? Yes. But unfortunately, you crash a lot easier on carbs because what goes up goes down. Insulin, down. Insulin, down. Keto, you're like this, remember? And always remember, carbohydrates, that's like putting paper into a fireplace. And if you burn out too much and don't stoke the fire again, you slow down. That's when you start having the chronic fatigue, you don't sleep well, and you crash, and you need to take an afternoon nap, and the postprandial hypoglycemia, and all this stuff. And the aging and the advanced glycation end product of the cells, because you're hitting it with a bunch of carbs and high blood sugar. People can't manage the blood sugar, and you can't lose weight because the insulin's not working. That affects your hormones. So, but you still can lose weight on low carb, high fat. You just have to be perfect timing with those carbs and starches. Lower in fat, the fat's going to be under 200. With keto and carnivore, fat's going to be over 200. Added fat, rather. Whereas low carb, high fat can be 120, 100 to 120. Or for those who are brave, more. More is always better with fat. But you've got to decide. Do you have a gallbladder issue? Do you have hypoglycemia? Do you have histamine intolerance? Which diet would work best if you're in that camp? Like, I can't eat anything. I'm always bloated. Do carnivore for the short term. I'm not always bloated. I can handle avocado and I can handle plants. Let's do keto. If your gallbladder's working, let's do keto. Let's do carnivore. If the gallbladder's jacked up and your electrolytes are absolutely atrocious and your face is twitching, your calves are locking up and your ribs are locking up, and no matter how much water you drink, you're still thirsty, carbs for the short term until you balance it, and then you can go back to ketosis land. If you guys want to learn more, go to stephanieperson.com and book a consultation. I've been doing this shite for a long time. And for each person, I learn something new. And I feel so like a big plethora of information just by going with people. These studies are garbage. They don't factor in the individual, the types of foods. Like keto studies are for 30 days and they don't give them enough fat, and they're eating like coconut oil and garbage and almond butter, and they're calling that keto. Do you see how studies can be stupid? But the individual story is everything. Us people and our journey is everything, and we can learn from each other. Comment below. Tell me what diet you guys are doing and why. And don't forget to share this content. That's really what's working best for people to hear this great information. And subscribe. Hit the notification bell. And I'll be back for another one. Let's get this. Let's live our best lives, because the world is fracked up right now, and it don't have to be. You do your best. And I'm out. I'm Stephanie. I'm 56, and I'm on my way to 57 and soon 60, and I cannot wait to get older and get younger all at the same time. Get ready for the challenge. I'll announce the dates. I'm working on it. So with all these crazy things like my horse, which that's a whole nother video on what's happened to him. He had some health issues, but he's on the mend. Me getting a puppy that just sprung on my land, and building this damn house, and working on the challenge, and helping my mother, and putting up fencing, barbed wire fencing. Where is it? Where's that barbed wire fence? Where is it? Now I can't find it. Look at that barbed wire. You gotta be careful when you put a barbed wire. I mean, you barely graze those prongy things, and human skin just goes. Honey.